the thing that has really made the most impact in my teaching when it comes to constructing meaning was something that we learned early on, and that was the whole idea of the task analysis. Because I found in doing the task analysis that it really helped me to decide what it was I was expecting from the students. I always thought that I knew what I wanted from the students, but then frequently I would get their finished work and the final results were just all over the place, and they weren't necessarily exactly what it was I thought that I had conveyed to them. But when I went through the task analysis, and especially the part where I was asked to create a sample student response, that really had an effect on how I taught things. Because all of a sudden, I actually had a much clearer picture about what it was that I wanted the students to do, what it was I was expecting from them. And so it actually altered the way that I taught. I began teaching with the end in mind, something that I came to realize I hadn't done to the extent that I always thought I had. So all the strategies are great and they're extremely valuable, and I certainly don't want to minimize those, but that has been the biggest thing for me. That task analysis and that sample student response has really changed the way that I approach my lessons and how I go about teaching them. Thank you.
One resource that I use often is the Says Means Matters note taker. The template for this can be found on the EL Achieve website under Constructing Meaning, Secondary CM Resources, Skill 4 Interactive Reading. This is a Google Doc template that can be easily adapted to any article you are using with your students. I took it and used it with the informational article, What is the Horror Genre, in our collections textbook. I added the title, page number, and directions, and then provided 6 sections, one for each paragraph in the article. Students were provided with sentence frames they could use, but were instructed to change and adapt these to their writing needs. Paragraph 1 was done as an example. At the end, I added space for them to put together the sentences from the template into a text analysis paragraph. A sample writing for the first paragraph was provided to help the students understand how their text analysis should look. Then they wrote a text analysis of their own using one of the other paragraphs. Here's an example of completed student work using the Says Means Matters note taker for this particular article. This is a very versatile resource that can be used to help students understand and write about complex texts. Thank you.
In this example, students were supposed to learn about the effects of the Crusades, the effects in both Europe and the Middle East. So they did their pre-work, learning about the effects on Europe or the Middle East in a jigsaw way, sharing their information and gaining information with a partner, and then explaining whether the Middle East or Europe was more heavily impacted by the Crusades. And so I chose the proposition and support flipbook page, and that fit in perfectly with my lesson. Having the flipbook page here allows the students to look at different options for what they might want to use in the different parts of their sentence. I'm also able to help students if they're not exactly sure where to begin by helping them picking out one that they might want to use. but they still have the freedom to choose a different one if that's going to fit their paragraph style a little bit better. So the flexibility really allows students to use as much scaffolding as they need. Once students are able to construct their sentences, then they can easily put those sentences together in a complete paragraph. And so using this before distance learning was a great tool for my class, and I've been able to continue using it just as well throughout the distance learning process. Thank you.
We do a little bit of writing and in class when we analyse art, and I ask them questions, and it's a way to also get them talking and participating in distance learning. One's the subject and one's about the occasion. One's for the audience or the viewer. In artwork, it's the viewer who's the audience. The purpose. An artwork does have a reason. Okay. The artist as opposed to the author. Okay. Thank you for watching.
So the way that I've used constructing meaning in my classroom is I've been referring to this refining practice handout all year. Teaching 8th grade ELA, I focused on point 4 that refers to interactive reading and note making. Some resources that I've used for this include dialectical journals and Think Aloud protocols. So for every text that we read in class, my students have been able to use a note maker to help them navigate through the text. The note maker includes comprehension questions and language patterns that students can refer back to when answering questions. I've also shifted my focus on target language and the use of brick and mortar words that students need in order to comprehend and analyze the text. Another point that I've been referring to all year is point 5. Academic writing support. And again, for every new text that my students are given, they're given a note maker to develop a clear understanding of the text. After we have read a new text and it's time to begin writing, my students have been provided drafting tools to strengthen their writing. These drafting templates do include academic language that students can use independently. The students also receive a rubric to clarify expectations for their writing. For my students' most recent assignment, they were given access to a Google slide where they all had to copy and paste their body paragraphs. After they copied those body paragraphs, everybody in the class was instructed to leave some feedback or comments to their peers. And this practice gave students a chance to peer assess as well as self-assess. Students did leave positive and constructive comments to one another, and after everyone commented, that's when they were able to begin their final drafts, after they had made those edits left from their peers. Overall, I've experienced that using CM in the classroom has helped me examine the role that language plays in content learning, as well as using the CM tools provided has not only helped or benefited my ELD students achieve academic success, but all of my students.